is Alexa Smith. Is Alexa Smith here? Yes. There she goes. Alexa's going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ask everybody to stand, face the flag. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight on the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, came through the night, that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the brave.
I know. Saying your
Hillcrest, awesome job. We knew you'd do great, and you did great. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thanks, Ms. Bishop. And thank you to all the moms and dads who came to watch tonight and siblings who came to watch this evening. Much appreciated. Have a great evening.
Feel free to stay and watch the rest of the show. Madam Secretary, may I have a roll call, please?
Mike Thorwald.
Here.
Denise Brooks. Here. Marion McKee.
Here.
Joseph Hidalgo.
Present.
Christine Marcel. Here. Ed Solomon.
Here.
Andy Block.
Here.
Mark Violet.
Mr. Bialik will be here late this evening, I believe.
Edward Tate.
Mr. Tate is away on family business. All right. We are going to go to the Council Rock South Student Advisory Board and the fashionable facial hair of Al Funk.
I knew you might say
I
something.
couldn't resist.
No, I know. It's a little more tailored today. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the School Board of Directors, Central Administrators, Dr. Frazier. It is indeed a pleasure to once again come before you to introduce Council Rock High School South's Student Advisory Board as we endeavor to keep you updated on the many happenings around campus. And we're going to kick things off tonight with our MBIT representative, Olivia. Take it away, Olivia.
And let the record show Mr. Bialik has entered the building.
Hello, my name is Olivia Gaudette, and I'm a junior at Council Rock High School South. I'm also a second-year student in the cosmetology program at Middlebucks Institute of Technology. MBIT hosted the Skills USA Districts 2 competitions on January 29th and 30th. There were students from 8 career and technical schools in Bucks, Chester, Delaware, and Montgomery counties competing in more than 40 skills competitions. The Skills USA Districts competitions provided an opportunity for students to demonstrate skills mastered in their technical programs. Individuals from business, industry, and education were on hand to judge the various competitions. Middle Bucks competitors participated in 40 competitions and earned a total of 41 medals, 26 gold, 10 silver, and 5 bronze. Our gold medal winners will now represent District 2 at Pennsylvania Skills USA State Competition in April at the Hershey Lodge and Conference Center. Middle Bucks will be hosting middle school students from the 4 sending districts who are interested in shadowing one of our technical programs. Visits are planned throughout January and February with 371 students scheduled to shadow. We are now very excited to meet these prospective students. I look forward to reporting to you at the next school board meeting. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Katie Burke. I'm the 9th grade representative for South Student Advisory Board, and it's great to be here with all of you. Tonight, I'll be telling you about the musical side of the school. So after much anticipation, band members learned on Tuesday the destination of their trip in the spring of 2020. They're going to Ireland. They'll be visiting cities such as Dublin, Galway, and Limerick, and I know that many band members are very excited as these trips are the highlight of their high school music experience. This past weekend, the Indoor Color Guard, directed by Mr. Burns, hosted their annual spin-out competition with more than 30 teams from New Jersey and Pennsylvania participating. So far this season, South's Indoor Color Guard has been very successful with an amazing performance using sabers, flags, and light-up rifles. Additionally, at the spin-out, the indoor drum line, composed of many percussion instruments, including snare drums, cymbals, and xylophones, made its debut, and their performance was well received by the audience. The spin-out was a huge success and a great night for all who participated. Next, on Thursday, March 14th through Saturday, March 16th, South's Golden Wings Theater Company's hard work will be on display as they perform Mary Poppins. During this show, elementary students have the opportunity to star in a short portion of the play with the help of some Golden Wings members. Whether it's making stage props, dancing, or acting, the entire cast and crew is preparing every day after school to wow the audience once again. Thank you for your time and have a good night.
Good evening. My name is Andrew Rosenfeld, and I'm the 10th grade representative at Council Rock South Student Advisory Board. Tonight, I'll be talking to you about the AHA Carnival Fun Night, Autism Cares St. Patty's Day Dance, and the 3-on-3 Buddy Basketball Tournament at Council Rock South. So on Friday, March 8th, the Autism Cares Foundation is excited to host its annual St. Patrick's Day Dance. This dance will take place at Council Rock South from 6:30 p.m. to 9 o'clock p.m. Volunteers will be arriving at 5 p.m. to set up decorations and other things. This Saturday from 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m., Athletes Helping Athletes will be holding their Carnival Fun Night at Council Rock South. At this event, there will be 75 plus volunteers and 68 AHA kids attending. The group will be participating in dancing, face painting, pie in the face, box golf, and many other events. Music will be provided by DJ Jerry Boland. The Athletes Helping Athletes Club would like to thank all of the various pizza places who provided generous donations of pizzas for the event. Our school is honored to be hosting both of these events and cannot wait for all of the fun. Lastly, Council Rock South's class of 2020 will be hosting the 3-on-3 Buddy Basketball Tournament Wednesday, February 27th at 6:30 p.m. in the gym. Sign-ups and roster turn-ins started yesterday and will continue till Monday the 25th. The cost is $5 per person. Thank you for your time, and I hope you all have a great weekend.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Nick Millivore, and I'm the 11th grade representative for the Sierra South SAV. I would like to take a second to say Happy New Year to everyone, as this is the first time we are meeting in 2019. Tonight, I have quite a bit of information to give you from our winter sports recap, a preview for the upcoming spring sports season, junior prom, and SATs. Boys varsity wrestling came in 4th place at the state duels. JV and varsity were the PIAA AAA District 1 dual team champions. Girls and boys swimming both finished 3rd overall in the Suburban 1 League. They have districts coming up next week on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Girls and boys varsity and JV basketball had a great seasons and really enjoyed playing against CR North. As spring sports is approaching us, there are still a few things that are required to practice or try out on Monday, March 4th. Physicals will be required to be in the online portal back on February 18th. If those are yet not in, they are required to be in as soon as possible. Also, the concussion testing for anyone who has participated in one must come to the concussion education and testing after school on Monday, February 25th. Times will vary for the select teams who mandate this protocol. Ladies, get your spray tan on, and gentlemen, get shaving on that facial they've been trying to grow out now, because junior prom will be on Saturday, March 30th at the Sheraton Valley Forge. As we approach this memorable night, no time on when it is or when it ends yet, because the class of 2020 student council is currently in the process of learning how to read time. More on that later. One last reminder, another SAT testing session will be on Saturday, March 9th at South. The last day of registration for this will be on Wednesday, February 27th. Before I finish up, I would like to thank everyone for your time tonight and a great first meeting in 2019. Many more await. Thank you all again and have a wonderful night.
Are we not allowed to ask questions? I kind of want to know.
He did this to us last time we were here. I think it's better we don't.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Bree Kirk, and I am the Senior Representative from Council Rock South Student Advisory Board. Despite the snowy weather we have been having, South Ski and Snowboard Club took their final trip of the season on February 8th to Blue Mountain. It was bittersweet for the senior members, like myself, but overall, it was an amazing night. Nearly everybody topped it off with a delicious chocolate-covered waffle from the Waffle Shack. And we'd like to give a big thank you to our advisors, Mrs. Devlin and Mrs. Nickel, for all their efforts in creating memorable trips for everyone. This March, South will be holding its annual blood drive in support of the Red Cross Foundation. As Rho Kappa Social Studies Honor Society is dedicated to volunteer work in our community, members will be volunteering to help organize both before and during the event. The blood drive will be held in South's gym, and students and staff will have the opportunity to donate to the great cause throughout the day. Speaking of great causes, tonight South is hosting a mini-thon to raise funds for the Four Diamonds Club, which helps fund research and treatment for pediatric cancer. Over 75 students pre-registered for the event, and they are hoping to top last year's amazing grand total of $5,000 in donations. The event will be DJ'd by senior Jacob Reutman. Best of luck to all those dancing the night away for the kids. And just in case you forgot, the senior class has exactly 40 days and 39 nights until departing for the most magical place on earth. Excited would be an understatement, as the seniors are counting down the days until we'll be soaking in the Florida sun next to our best friends. Thank you all so much for your time tonight. I look forward to speaking to you at the next meeting.
I was just going to ask if we were going to see you. We look forward to the entertainment. Great job, kids.
Absolutely.
Don't get too excited.
Nice job. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Funk. Thank you. Dr. Fraser, Superintendent report, please.
Thank you, Mr. Block. Good evening, members of the board, and good evening, members of our Council Rock community. It's with great sadness that I begin my report this evening by reporting the passing of one of our students, Patrick Duffy, an 8th grader at Holland Middle School. We certainly grieve with and we grieve for the Duffy family and all of Patrick's relatives, friends, teachers, and all the school folks that got to know him through the years. Let's please pause for a moment of silence. Thank you. I also want to address a couple other topics here. First, I want to thank the Holland Middle School administration and staff for being available and for being empathetic with our middle school students today. I also thank an extended district-wide group of counselors, psychologists, social workers, and other caretakers who did just that today. They took great care of students who are hurting, who are grieving. I also thank Dr. Lambert for his leadership in spearheading the efforts to make sure that we took care of today and continue to take care of our students and also our staff. Holland Middle parents, please know that a letter was emailed out earlier this evening at a high level detailing today. giving you some indicators if your child might be struggling to process what has happened, and also attached to that email were a couple resource documents. So if you have yet to check your inbox, if you're a Holland Middle parent, please know that email is in there waiting for you. And second, I want to talk just for a moment about a priority topic that will be emphasized front and center in our CR strategic plan that we're currently developing. This priority topic is student wellness. Student wellness involves so much more than just academic success. And we should know that. And we should teach that, embrace it, and we should celebrate that. And in my opinion, we should do that together. The schools, our parents, the community, all of us working side by side, hand in hand, to ensure student wellness. We care tremendously for our students. We know that our parents love their children more than anything else in their universe. And we know that this community only wants what's best for its youth. It's hard growing up today. It really is. I look forward to our school district expanding our efforts in this area and working together with our parents and the broader community to redefine success in some ways, all to ensure that our students, the children who attend our schools, indeed are well. Thank you. And speaking of student wellness, we have promised many times over to take great care of our students who are being redistricted to a new school next year, as well as their friends who are remaining behind and not changing schools. So to that end, I now invite Mr. Andy Stanko to the podium to provide us with an update.
Good evening. So we've spoken about redistricting and we've spoken about transitioning, and we've developed in conjunction with all of our elementary principals a transition plan. The transition plan was put together and rolled out electronically in February, on February 4th, and continued work on our transition efforts happening as we speak. However, we've pushed that plan out, and the plan is built on two different, basically, foundations. Big bucket or big ideas, and then smaller bucket or granular ideas. The big bucket ideas are things that we are initiating as benchmarks or milestones as a district, and then the smaller bucket or the granular things are the way that things are going to unfold in each individual school. And I'd like just to navigate the website, our Council Rock website, and show you and show parents how to get to where we have that information on the website. So, of course, it's at www.crsd.org. You can see the very first tab is the redistricting transition hub. If we click on there, there's information that we continue to add to this website. The FAQs that we have, the school locator map that you can, and families can go to and type in an address. It'll show you current school boundaries as well as the redistricted boundaries. But the particular document I want to talk with you about tonight and share is the same document that we shared at the superintendent's parent advisory meeting a few weeks ago. And the transition document is outlined by month. And as I said, each of those blue lines in this flow chart are kind of like the big ideas. And as you scroll through this, you will see specific things that relate to all of our kids being redistricted and transitioning. That applies to our students who are moving from their current school to a new school, and that also includes our kids that are in a school currently and will remain in that school. A couple things that I want to highlight as you prepare to look through this is that our very first district-wide big activity will take place on March 7th. So a district-wide email will go out tomorrow from me to our greater community, and it will be followed by communication from individual building principals. So there is that activity, which is March 7th. There is a similar activity, which is outlined in here on June 12th. In both of those, we will be taking all of our students by school bus from their current school to the school they'll be attending next year. Additionally, in May, each of our elementary schools have planned a May visitation night so that parents and students can get in and see the footprint of the school, meet with staff, in addition to the March 7th and June 12th date, and participate in student and staff-led activities. Please note on here that the Rolling Hills School and Wrightstown Elementary School are in red, and that's done with intent. Rolling Hills, as you know, will be going to, all of their students and staff will be moved to Richboro, the former Richboro Middle School, for the upcoming school year. And as such, the Rolling Hills community will be invited, along with any students who are going to be attending that school next year, will be invited to the former Richboro Middle School on May 23rd from 6 until 7. And so even though school is still taking place at Rolling Hills Elementary, their welcome evening or their May evening of gathering will take place at the former Richboro Middle School. The next school on there in red, Wrightstown Elementary School, I want to highlight that for you for a moment. As you know, Wrightstown Elementary School is currently housed in the former Richboro Middle School. And because Wrightstown Elementary School won't be completed by the May date, we still feel that it's very important to get students and adults in front of each other that are going to attend Wrightstown. So the Wrightstown Elementary School will have their May evening, their parent evening, on May 22nd, and that will be held at the current school they're attending now, which is the former Richboro Middle School. The second asterisk on that Wrightstown Elementary School is to let the Wrightstown community know that as soon as the school is completed, sometime in mid-July, that there will be days across the summer where families can get in and see that actual footprint of the building and interact with the principal and the staff in that building. Additionally, we have contact information in there. Principals are excited and expecting direct contact from parents if they have questions about transitioning. And we have fielded many questions and encourage parents to reach out directly to the principal of the school that they'll be attending in the upcoming year. As we move through this, we will continue to, with the help of Ms. O'Grady, we'll continue to add to this transition hub. In closing, once again, parents should expect, and our community should expect, a global email to go out tomorrow from me about the March 7th date, and that should be followed with another email from school principals in the coming days after tomorrow's email. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stanko, for your outstanding leadership in this arena, and thank you, Ms. O'Grady, for your wonderful orchestration, as always, of all this information on our website and in our communication with the community. I do want to just quickly echo and piggyback something that Mr. Stanko said, and that's to parents of children who are moving schools next year. Very sincerely, our principals would love to hear from you. Just to get to know you, just to start to build that relationship. Certainly, if you have questions, they would love to be able to answer those for you as well. But even if you don't, just to say hi and start a dialogue with that new principal is something that they are eager to do. So please take advantage of that opportunity. And lastly, from me this evening, just a reminder with our recent snow days that the last day of school is now scheduled for Wednesday, June 19th. As you may recall, we fixed the high school graduation dates this year, so both high school graduations will still be held on Monday, June 17th. And I think we are about 30 days or so from spring. So I'm knocking on wood. And before I hand over the microphone, official welcome to Ed Selman, your first full board meeting. Welcome.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to have you here. And I also want to note in attendance for the first time, our new Director of Business Administration, Mr. Bill Stone. Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Frazier. Mr. Cox.
Mr. Block, I have nothing to add to the report that I circulated to the board earlier in the week, and nor do I have an executive session to announce.
Okay, excellent, thank you. Ms. Brooks, I'm going to ask, oh, sorry, I got to go to public comment first. Is there any public comment? There was none on the sheet outside. Okay, no public comment. Ms. Brooks, if we could take the first 3 minutes, if I get a motion to have those.
Sure. I move to approve the minutes of the January 17th, 2019 school board meeting. I also move to approve the minutes of the January 31st, 2019 special board meeting to appoint a new school director. And I move to approve the minutes of the February 7th, 2019 special board meeting to approve the preliminary 2019-2020 general fund budget.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions, any objections? With that being said, I'd ask the secretary to note the motion passed with unanimous consent, please. And we're going to move one item up in the agenda because we've got bond counsel here. Mr. Bialik under the Finance Committee and Mr. Stone. Which one of these? Letter I under the Finance Committee. You want to go ahead and run that one through first?
We don't want H first? 2019 bond resolution, is that what?
Yeah, that's one. I figure we could take care of that. So that way we can get council home.
Sure, I move to approve the attached 2019 bond resolution to authorize and direct the issuance of the bonds to finance the current refunding of all or a portion of the 2014 bonds and to finance the current refunding of all or a portion of the 2014 D bonds. Required savings on the 2014 bonds shall be no less than 2% of the refunded par value, and the required savings on the 2014 D bonds shall be no less than 2% of the refunded par value.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Brooks. I think we got better news than that. Mr. Stone, you want to give a quick overview? Sir, please.
Thank you. So these parameters in this resolution that we are asking you to approve tonight were discussed at the January 10th Finance Committee meeting. As Mr. Bialik noted, we are shooting for a floor of 2% savings net of costs. That's the same floor that we've used in past refinancings. We are in an interest rate environment where we obviously expect that 2% savings, but the savings are not as significant as we have seen in refundings in prior years. The timeline, if approved tonight, is that we would market permitting price these bonds next Thursday, the 28th. And I will turn it over to Mr. Reed, our bond counsel, to walk you through the details of what you are approving tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Stone, members of the board, Dr. Frazier. Pleased to be back before the board this evening. As Mr. Stone indicated, this is a process that the board is familiar with. It's been coming before the board over the course of the last several weeks. We indicate to the board that the important notion here is that the required savings parameter is a floor, as has been indicated. It's based upon whatever the market dictates. So ultimately, if the market does not cooperate, then we wouldn't move forward. At this point in time, the market is such that you would realize those savings. So we hope that those savings carry through. The market hangs in there for next week. As you're familiar, the parameter resolution sets forth that as a parameter. It sets forth a aggregate principal amount as a parameter, such that the appetite of the investors can be positioned so that you are the most successful in the marketplace. As you may be aware, we were here previously with regards to the new money issue. I will report to you that that went very well for the district based upon your excellent credit rating. In fact, you exceeded the presentation that PFM had given previously. You did better in the market than was anticipated, once again, due to your credit rating and a healthy appetite for your bonds. And we certainly hope that that's the case here. Should the board take favorable action this evening, the process remains the same. This is step one. Step two is that we send it to the state for authorization because that's the requirement under the law. We have received that approval for the first issue. We would go through it with the second issue with the state as well. I will certainly pause here and see if there's any questions about the process. One other thing I would say is this is a traditional high to low refunding. All that simply means is we're trying to exchange the higher interest rates for lower interest rates. That's what produces the savings that you're looking for. With that, I'll pause for any questions you may have.
We're good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Reed. Any other questions for Mr. Stone? May I have a roll call vote, please?
Michael Rourke,
Yes.
Denise Brooks,
Yes.
Marion McKee.
Yes.
Joseph Hidalgo,
Yes.
Kristen Marcel,
Yes.
Ed Solomon,
Yes.
Andy Bug.
Yes.
Mark Feiler.
Yes.
Motion carries 8-0. And we will move back to the top of the agenda. Ms. McKee and the Academics Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Block. The Academic Standards Committee met on January 24th. Dr. Lambert presented us a summary of the Pennsylvania Youth Survey. This survey provides us with important information on students' attitudes, behaviors, and knowledge about tobacco, alcohol, other drugs, and violence. Following that, Mr. Senko shared with us the Council Rock Alumni Survey, and this was we had a really good response to this survey, and I want to take the opportunity to thank everyone who took the time to take that survey. It provides us with really good information, which should help our decision-making in terms of curriculum and providing opportunities for our students to become college or career ready. Our next meeting will be on February 28th. Our agenda item for that meeting is research and data that's been collected regarding high school scheduling. And as that concludes my report, I'd like to move to approve agenda items B through D as contained in the agenda.
Second. Thank you, Mr. Bialik. Any questions? Any objections? Hearing none, I'd ask the secretary to note the motion passed with unanimous consent. And I believe we're going to talk about school calendars. Mr. Sanko.
So, thank you. Thank you. So, the last time we were together, we presented you with 2 years worth of school calendars and 2 versions of each. So a version A and a version B of school calendar 2019, school year 2019-2020, and school year 2020-2021. And the difference in those 2 calendars, version A and version B, the primary difference is that the Diwali falls on the weekend of both of those school years, and it would not be, we would not have a school day off for either of those 2 years for the Diwali holiday. And the second difference is that the first version of each of those 2 calendars show election day as a weather-related makeup day, and version B shows both of those calendars as a day off for students. So we would not use it for a weather-related day. It's the recommendation of the administration would be version B. And that's where we are with the calendars and asking you for your consideration on them.
Are there any questions for Mr. Sanko or for the administration? Dr. Thorwald?
I continue to have problems with how late we go into June. Is there, and I'm broaching this for the board more than the administration, is there any appetite for starting earlier, reducing spring break, something to get these kids out basically before June ends? I thank you for the work you've done, but this is getting longer and longer every year. We fixed graduation, that helps for those parents and for our seniors, but these years are dragging out now. And again, I'll open up for the board consideration and your opinions on.
Yeah, I would just simply, before the board weighs in, suggest that if there is board interest in considering it, that we would take as a first step a survey of the community, survey of our parents to get their feelings. Both of those have implications on families, but it also has implications on the school year.
Yes.
So I'm sure that we would have a healthy dose of folks that would want to start before Labor Day and a healthy dose that wouldn't, and the same would happen in terms of spring break. So I just think it would behoove us and be smart to get our parents' thoughts and feelings.
Obviously fine with that.
Any other comments or questions?
I would be in favor of surveying community. I mean, I agree that the issue of before or after Labor Day, is a divisive one, but we still have so many schools without air conditioning that maybe spring break, I don't know. It's just, it's difficult, and it just seems like the summers are hotter now. And so, we had issues last year where we had to make accommodations in schools that didn't have the air conditioning, and maybe rethinking this could mitigate it. I don't know. Is there how difficult would it be for the administration if we took a pause and sent out a survey and came back to this in a month or two?
For the upcoming, for the 1920 school year?
Yeah.
So I think we have two options. We could do as you're questioning, just take a pause and bring this back next month, which is late, but I think it's doable.
So could we vote on it next year and then talk about not do 2 years?
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's option B, is let's perhaps act on the 1920 calendar tonight, but hold off on the 2021 calendar. And in the interim, we'll do a survey.
Yeah, I realize that it's sort of ironic that I would say that I support that, because I've been one who has wanted to approve calendars, more than one a year for planning purposes, but maybe we should just really do an aggressive understanding of what the community sentiment is before we lock in for 2 years.
The administration would certainly support that.
Is there anybody here who's got an objection to only looking at the first year calendar?
Timeline for the second one, we wouldn't drag it out too many months, would we?
No, I think this is actually a good time to do it, because the calendar is on people's minds right now. As we enter into late winter or spring, people are planning their summers, planning their maybe Labor Day weekends. So I think it's actually a good time for us to do it. So I don't think we need to wait a year to come back.
Well, I don't want to wait even 6 months.
2021.
Yeah.
Can I ask that we do this maybe at the next academic standards committee meeting, or at a committee meeting when we have some time, have a quick conversation about what a survey might look like?
Sure.
Okay, great. Do we need to amend the motion to only account for the 19 and 20 school year, or 19-20 school year?
I think it's been effectively amended, as long as the person who made the motion and the person who seconded it are okay with that, and everyone's clear then. And let me make sure that I'm clear, that the board's just going to be voting on the 1920.
Right. And actually, I don't think I asked for a motion on that before I jumped to Mr. Sanko.
I was just going to say, I don't recall.
So why don't we, Ms. McKee, if you could make that motion and just specify that it's the 2019-2020 calendar only.
So I move to approve the 2019-2020 version B school calendar as attached in this agenda.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Bialik. Any objections? Hearing none, I'd ask the secretary to note the motion passed with unanimous consent, and we'll move to Ms. Brooks to hear what's happening at the IU.
So I just have a few things to report. One is that the IU is partnering with the United Way of Bucks County to host a huge STEAM event for 7th and 8th grade students on May 23rd at Delaware Valley University in Doylestown. So there's opportunities in this event, not only for students, but also for businesses and adult professionals. Professionals who work in science, technology, engineering, arts, math, and manufacturing are invited to volunteer to work with students. And businesses, the IU is looking for sponsors for the event. The sponsorship will make sure that the more than 800 local students who will be attending this event can do so at no cost. So they already have Pico and Comcast and some other big companies lined up, but they are looking for 8 more businesses to sponsor. If you're interested in being an adult volunteer presenter, to provide a hands-on interactive workshop with the goal of inspiring students to consider STEAM careers, you can submit a proposal for a 45 to 60-minute workshop by April 2nd. All the information is on the website. I also, in that same theme, wanted to report that the IU recently got over $900,000 in grants to expand computer science and STEM education. One of the grants will support the creation of a mobile fabrication lab that will serve as a platform for learning and innovation with hands-on activities. And another will fund the Computational Thinking in Action program, which is a collaboration between several IUs across the state and the University of Pennsylvania. The program will engage regional teams throughout Pennsylvania to create a middle school introductory course on computer science and a curriculum for an after-school program in robotics and computer science. Another grant that they'll be working on will be to create a regional chapter of the International Chief Science Officer program in our schools. Students in grades 7 through 12 from Bucks, Chester, Delaware, and Montgomery counties will be elected by their peers to serve as computer science liaisons for the school and community. The students will receive special leadership training and develop and promote computer science and STEM engagement opportunities in their schools and communities, and work with adult computer science and STEM leaders in the region. So I just highlight these things because the IU is really innovative and very proactive in bringing STEM and STEAM opportunities to the county. And then we had some conversation about the state budget that was unveiled. It's a $34.1 billion budget. It has an increase of 4.3% in spending over last year. The plan focuses on education, workforce development, early childhood education, school safety, and continuing the fight against the opioid epidemic. One of the things that we were discussing at length was that the governor proposed creating minimum teacher salaries of $45,000, which they will help fund in the 2019-2020 school year for those schools that have salaries below that level. There are actually 180 school districts in the state that would receive those funds, and it would total $14 million. The general consensus that the IU has been hearing is that there's some resistance to this. It's very difficult because of the impact on current collective bargaining agreements, but that's what's being discussed, and it was a lively conversation at the IU.
Thank you, Ms. Brooks. Ms. Marcel, could you handle G and H, the Council Rock Education Foundation and MBIT, please?
Thank you. I just have a few updates for each. First is that I just wanted to remind everyone that the Innovative Teacher Grants have a deadline of March 4th, which is coming soon. And because the board approved up to $50,000 for those grants, they're encouraging everyone to please put their applications in. The deadline is Monday, March 4th. You can go to the CREF website in order to get more information and to apply for them. And if there are any questions, please reach out to the CREF Executive Director. In terms of events, there is one coming up that I encourage everyone to attend. And since I'm a babysitter, I will be attending it. That is the annual signature fundraiser, the Duel, which is going to be March 15th at the Fuge. There will be dueling pianos, a craft bourbon bar, gaming tables. I heard about a raffle of wine bottles that's done every year. There are a lot of really fun things that night. And so I really encourage everyone on the board and everyone in the public to attend. I think it's going to be a great night. And all the proceeds go to benefit some of the innovative STEAM projects that aren't covered by our budget. And so I just want to put the word out for that. And then lastly, at the last meeting I mentioned the Council Rock Golf Classic, which is June 3rd at the Philmont Country Club. It's a great course. I believe that some sponsorship and ticket options will be shared soon. So I'm hoping that by next meeting, I can share that with all of you. I think at the last meeting, Mr. Block told us that he would get a team together from the board. And so I'm going to make him follow up on that to help me out. But I just, again, encourage everyone to check out the website for more detail on that.
If you're interested in playing in the Council Rock foursome, let me know. And if we've got more than 4, we can have 2.
And if anyone wants to do lessons for me, no, I'm just kidding. And then in terms of the Middle Bucks Institute of Technology, again, just a couple of updates. One is that I thought it was very interesting. MBIT is actually looking to expand their network operating systems and security program because there has been such a large increase of interest in that area. They already have very high enrollment. They're over capacity for the 2019-2020 school year. And obviously because of that particular area, there are a lot of career opportunities for students in like cloud technologies and cybersecurity, hardware, infrastructure, storage, and data, IT management. Great careers, great opportunities. And so I think it's really interesting to see that there are so many students that are interested in those areas. And MBIT is also reviewing their kind of 5-year history of enrollment so that they can also see if there are any trends in terms of where there seems to be more interest or less interest, as well as looking at if there are certain areas where even the sending schools might have programs that kind of dovetail and are similar. And so they're kind of doing an assessment right now. And then lastly, the Executive Council passed a resolution sponsored by the Pennsylvania School Board that urged the General Assembly to take legislative action for public education by increasing basic education funding. So that's all I have for this update. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Marcel. With Mr. Tate out tonight, Mr. Hidalgo, could you please cover the policy committee?
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Block. Just to give you a quick recap, there was a discussion led by Dr. Elliott pertaining to the periodic review of Title I Parent-Family Engagement Policy. This policy resulted in no recommended changes to the policy site. That discussion was followed by a review of the human resource policies led up by Mrs. Taylor, the Director of Human Resources. For anyone interested, in audio and presentation slides are posted on the Council Rock School District YouTube channel. And that being said, Mr. Block, I move to approve the revised board policies as listed on the agenda.
Second. Thank you, Dr. Thorworth. Any questions? Any objections? Hearing none, I'd ask the secretary to note the motion passed with unanimous consent. And with that, we'll move to Mr. Bialik for the Finance Committee agenda items.
Okay. Well, I wasn't at the last Finance Committee meeting. It was rescheduled to a date that I was unable to attend. Bill, do you want to give us a rundown?
Certainly. We discussed 3 items, the first of which was to increase the hourly rates of pay for support staff substitutes. The second was a recommendation to approve the Bucks County IU's programs and services and instructional materials and research services budget, to which the school district makes an annual contribution, and also to change the Bucks County TCC delegate. The TCC is the organization that governs earned income tax collection for the county. The recommendation is to change the primary voting delegate from Mr. Reinhardt, who's retiring, to me. So those were the items that were discussed.
Okay, and our next meeting is the 14th, I believe, of March, but I have a conflict that night, and we talked about potentially moving it to Wednesday. Phil just gave me a thumbs up for him. Robert had said before that's good for him. So if any of the board has an objection, just let me know. I'll be sending out an email. You don't have to say anything tonight, but that would be a one-time move to a different date. So having said that, everybody's nodding. That's wonderful. I move to, okay. Having said that, now I'm at facilities. And while I'm getting this together, I just have to say that Kristen does such a better job than I ever did with MBIT reports. And Kraft is very thorough and wonderful. Thank you. Okay, I move to approve items B through G as contained in this agenda.
Second. Any questions? Any objections? Hearing none, I'd ask the secretary to note the motion passes with unanimous consent. And Mr. Bialik, if you could continue with H and J, please.
I think H we did already. That was
No,
a
we
bond resolution.
No, that was we did I. So
We did H if you're reading it on. Yeah, I think you're looking.
I'm looking at my wrong agenda.
Okay. So how about I go with I?
It's your committee, you go with whatever you like.
I move to award bid number 18-70 Cisco Catalyst 2960X switch to Ask Technologies at a cost not to exceed $198,960, subject to audit.
Second.
Any questions? Any objections? Hearing none, I'd ask the secretary to note that the motion passes with unanimous consent. And Mr. Bogg, if you could pull J and K together, that'd be great.
Okay. For personnel actions, item number J and K attached to the agenda, I move to approve the personnel actions as contained to the attachments to this agenda.
Second.
Thank you, Dr. Thorwart. Ms. Taylor.
Good evening. Going to speak very briefly to an item that we talked about on consent, which was the approval to increase the rates for our support staff substitutes. I do want to say thank you. We had a good conversation about this at the Finance Committee meeting, and just very briefly, we'll be raising our rates from $8 per hour for clerical support staff, hall monitors, recess aides, from $8 to $11 per hour, and for teacher assistants from $9 per hour to $13. We will be doing a recruitment campaign over the next few days. We'll be blasting this out to the Council Rock community, also posting in some local advertising venues, and hopefully we will be able to help improve our fill rates through raising the rate and doing more advertising. So I thank you very much.
And for the edification of the public who may not have seen that Finance Committee meeting, just a sense of perspective around those rate numbers. We have been very, very low relative to our peer districts in Bucks County. So the additions, the increases that are going into effect via this evening's vote really puts us in the middle of the pack from a Bucks County standpoint. So please know that we're trying everything that we can to boost those sub-fill rates, because it's a hardship on students, it's a hardship on teachers whenever we're missing one of our assistants. But from a taxpayer fiscal responsibility standpoint, we're certainly, like I said, right in the middle of that Bucks County average with this change. Thanks.
Dr. Frazier, any further questions? Any objections? Hearing none, I'd like the secretary to note the motion passed with unanimous consent. And with that, we'll move to our last section. Dr. Thorwart, if you could navigate us through that Facilities Committee agenda?
Yes, I will. Like Mr. Bialik, I missed the last meeting. I'm in the throes of college visits. And, unfortunately, Mr. Tate, who ran the meeting, is not here, but I've been watching much of the playbacks. I'm going to defer to Doug on some of this, but I'll give you some highlights. I'd like to start by first thanking Doug for walking me through Wrightstown Elementary 2 weeks ago. It was a little muddy, but the facilities are coming along. It's all the things you don't see when the building's done that are not only fascinating, but what hold us up. And it's nice to see wires chased for the network. It's nice to see plumbing in for our HVAC units. It was nice to see whiteboards on a couple of walls. So we're coming along pretty nicely there. And I want to thank you for letting us walk through it. With that, Doug, do you want to talk about at least the consent agenda items just really briefly?
Sure. I mean, a quick update on facilities. Basically, everything that is on our agenda tonight was discussed at the facilities meeting. So the Rolling Hills Elementary School bid results, the support services for that, the professional services, the capital improvement project bids were also received and reviewed at that meeting, and the regular energy management update, security update, some other consent agenda items, the landscaping services, a utility, 2 utility vehicles, and I think that generally covers the Facilities Committee meeting. So there's 3 agenda items for consent that I'd ask that you guys would move on.
We'll do those first, and we'll hit all the other topics if people want to make comments as we go in. So with that, I move to approve the Facilities Committee consent agenda items B, C, and D as contained in this agenda.
Second. Any questions? Any objections? Hearing none, I'd ask the secretary to note the motion passed with unanimous consent. And unless there's any objections from my peers, because they're all relevant to Rolling Hills, I'm going to ask Dr. Thorwart if we can take all three of those as one motion.
The motions are huge. So let's do them one at a time. Or I'm going to be reading War and Peace before we do them all.
Okay.
I'll read them one at a time. We can do them together. But,
Well, do you want to read them all and then we can?
yeah, we can do that.
Yeah,
All
let's
right,
go ahead and
fine,
read them all.
yeah. I'll just keep
Read them
blurring
all,
through.
and then we'll have a
All right,
discussion about it, and then that way
I'm
we
going to
can
take a breath.
we
in
can take
between.
one vote on all three of them.
That's fine. Yeah. All right, let me start with the first one. I move to award the bid for the Rolling Hills Elementary School additions and renovations project as listed. General construction to Penn Builders Incorporated at a total cost not to exceed $13,710,000, including alternate numbers 2, 4, 6A, 6B, and 6C, contingent upon approval of bonds and insurance, and subject to audit and solicitor's review. Further, mechanical construction to Tri-County Mechanical Incorporated at a total cost not to exceed $3,297,000, including alternate number 7, contingent upon approval of bonds and insurance, and subject to audit and solicitor's review. Further, electrical construction to Borough Developers Incorporated, DBA Borough Construction, at a total cost not to exceed $2,832,000, including alternate number 2, contingent upon approval of bonds and insurance and subject to auditor and solicitor's review. Further, plumbing construction to Michael Mechanical Incorporated at a total cost not to exceed $1,213,000, including alternate number 2, contingent upon approval of bonds and insurance and subject to audit and solicitor's review. And lastly, environmental abatement to Bristol Environmental Incorporated at a total cost not to exceed $122,940, contingent upon approval of bonds and insurance and subject to auditor and solicitor's review. But wait, there's more. I move to award the HVAC testing adjusting balancing professional service agreement for the Rolling Hills Elementary School additions and renovations project to Butler Balancing Company Incorporated at a total not to exceed fee of $22,000, subject to audit and solicitor's review. Further, I move to award the construction testing professional services agreement for the Rolling Hills Elementary School additions and renovations project to Earth Engineering Incorporated at a total cost not to exceed fee of $75,000, subject to audit and solicitor's review. I move to approve the lead certification sustainability consultant professional service fees for the Rolling Hills Elementary School additions and renovations project for revision architecture at a total cost not to exceed fee of $26,500 to be invoiced through the existing Schrader Group architecture agreement between architect and owner, subject to audit and solicitor's review. And I move to award the construction waste management professional services agreement for the Rolling Hills Elementary School additions and renovations project to Revolution Recovery LLC at a total not to exceed fee of $70,000, subject to audit and solicitor's review. And there's two more. I move, yes, you're right. I move to approve PlantCon Part F, Attachment C, subject to audit.
Second.
That was like
Thank
writing
you.
I will not talk in school 100 times on the board.
If you think that was bad, assuming this passes, or if this passes, somebody's got to sign all that stuff.
Yeah, I know. We talked about that earlier.
Mr. Tell, you want to give us, I know there's an extended discussion on Thursday at the facilities meeting. You want to give us a brief overview and then we can ask any questions?
Yep, yeah, sure, I'd be happy to. There were 50 bidders at the mandatory pre-bid meeting. Of those 50, 32 contractors actually bid the project. We had a highly competitive bid process. We ended up with a very strong team of contractors. 2 of the 4 are working at Wrightstown and worked on Newtown Middle School, one being the leader of the group, Penn Builders, who is the general contractor and doing a very good job on both. Did a good job and doing a good job. We're below budget by approximately $8,000 when we considered value-added alternates and contingencies totaling about $1.8 million still remaining in that total project cost. So we're in very good shape from a financial standpoint, under budget, on schedule. And some of those alternates that we are recommending and accepting, as you heard those numbers, were unclassified rock excavation, meaning the contractor removes any rock they encounter for the fee that they provided in their bid, which were very low numbers. It's a very good cost for us, and I assure you we would have paid more to remove rock than they provided in their bid. There's some hydronic piping systems that are alternates, which are a benefit to us. Additional classroom storage. There's an outdoor classroom space. And the biggest and most sensitive item that we discussed was the maintaining the 3 classroom addition for that project, which was an extreme value, extraordinarily low at $493,000 to construct 3 classrooms and the connecting link, which I would say would normally be anticipated at around $1.5 to $2 million at the time of construction, and certainly more if you were to construct that at a later date. And the additional value for flexibility, growth, and planning for the principal at the school. So that's a quick overview. Robert, I don't know if you want to offer anything more.
Yeah, let me just augment that around the 3 classroom addition. We did talk about this last week at Facilities Committee, but of course, not everybody was watching that. The administration feels pretty strongly that it's in the district's best interest from a long-term standpoint and even from a short-term standpoint to add these 3 classrooms at the cost that Mr. Taylor referenced, which is a fantastic cost. Rolling Hills typically runs 3 sections per grade. So if we do not add these classrooms, essentially what we're choosing to do is build the school just big enough. So we're not allowing for future growth or sometimes just how the numbers break down per grade level. And we have a need from time to time, of course, to pop a section, to add an additional section. I will also say that we are very concerned overall about capacity issues in the southeast region of the district. For instance, after redistricting, Rolling Hills is proposed to be at 80% capacity, Hillcrest at 84% capacity, and Hollandale at 86% capacity. These are all above our district average. And complicating that issue, it complicated the issue during the redistricting process, and it would in the next redistricting process as well, is that 2 of those schools, Rolling Hills and Holland, sit on the extreme far west or far southwestern border. So moving any more students to the west, where we do have some open classrooms, would literally mean that you're moving the school out of its own attendance area. So what I would tell you is that we acknowledged as a redistricting committee this issue in the southeast, but always kept in mind throughout that process that these 3 classrooms were a possibility. There's also a property, Bucks County Roses, that you probably read in the paper that is up for potential development. And that would also feed into Rolling Hills as well. And then the last piece is whether we need those 3 classrooms for full-size classrooms or not, I can tell you that there would be a tremendous amount of educational value. Our class sizes do tend to run a bit on the large size. So being able to have our employees, SAGE volunteers, pull individual students out, small groups of students out, and work with them and address those individualized needs is invaluable as far as I'm concerned. We're doing more and more from a STEAM standpoint, so it provides another area for those kinds of activities to take place. So all in all, the value is there. I think from a fiscal standpoint, the value is definitely there from an educational standpoint. So we strongly recommend that we include these 3 classrooms in this project.
Any questions for Mr. Taylor or any comments? Okay, may I have a roll call vote, please? Yeah, with this for all 3. Yep.
Can I actually just?
I'm sorry. Yeah, hang.
Could I just mention? Sorry, I didn't realize that we were going to move right into the voting. Can I
That's
just
okay.
mention like one thing, just to follow Dr. Frazier's comments? I'm just going to touch on a couple things because I know that we talked about this at the committee meeting, but I just wanted to just kind of echo a couple of thoughts from that meeting that I thought were important. One was that I know Dr. Frazier talked about looking at a strategic plan from a facilities perspective, which I think is a great idea because obviously we now have a redistricting plan that we're moving forward with. And I think it's really helpful to just think holistically about kind of where we're going based on, you know, the limited resources that we have and trying to, you know, think of priorities in that area. And so I just wanted to thank him for talking about that, which I thought was an important part of the meeting. And then I also just wanted to make another point that I do think that it's nice to have extra space at schools for that educational value and having those extra classrooms. I would just say, I think I have some concerns that just that some of the schools have, you know, extra rooms and some of them have like absolutely none. And so I just think that in terms of us thinking of that strategic plan and how we want to address, I think it would be great to, and I know it's hard to project because it's not perfect, like you were saying, the demographers can tell us what they think will happen and, you know, we'll see what enrollment looks like in a given year, depending on what happens. But there are developments, like there might be one across from Newtown Grant that could impact Newtown Elementary. And so I just think I really applaud you talking about that at the meeting. And I think that really was helpful to me. And so it's more of an opportunity maybe for later for us to talk about that in future facilities meetings. So sorry, I just wanted to mention that because I thought it was very important.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, and I'll touch base. I talked to Robert earlier. My only concern, and it's not a concern that's going to stop me from voting for this, is if we keep adding classrooms and capacities over in that corner to prevent popping of sections, that's fine. But we're going to pop a middle school if we're not careful long-term as well. So as we do this long-term strategic plan, we really need to be mindful of what limited capacity we have at that middle school.
Agreed.
So I'll make a comment, because that vote did come up kind of quickly. I wasn't sure. But no, I didn't
That's
expect
okay.
a
No,
vote
you're
comment
good.
out of
You're
this
good.
person.
I
That's crying out loud. I mean, geez, you moved one person out and suddenly nobody wants to talk. I think this is wonderful. So it wasn't that long ago when we were sitting around this table and we were talking about closing this school. And I'm very proud of this board and I'm very proud of this administration for keeping their mind open and for hearing the concerns of the community and going back and saying maybe the demographer got it wrong and taking another look at it. So not only are we keeping the school open, but we're adding what I think is a tremendous value of 3 classrooms. Doug said it normally could cost $1.5 million, $1.2 million. That's a big difference beyond $4 million or $480,000 or $470,000. I asked Dr. Frazier because I hate to spend money that isn't needed. I don't know if you know that about me, but that's my position. I asked Dr. Frazier if this was an immediate need or a future need, and he said it's more of a future planning need. Certainly, we can find uses for classrooms. I don't want to pay for luxurious space in our schools. That's not needed. But I applaud the idea of future planning. So again, to be able to get these classrooms at a tremendous value, to include some future planning and to give us some wiggle room is wonderful. And just to remind everybody, we did take modulars off of the school and we took 10, was it 10? 6 or 8 of them are being used as classroom instruction. So we're only putting 3 back on. I think all the other elementary schools that we've renovated we've replaced the modular classrooms. So Rolling Hills is getting 3 new classrooms, but it's not even really what they had. Now, one more thing. Someone had said, listen, these buildings are not strategically placed throughout the district because that's just how they've grown. Yes. What I came away with from the capital planning process and certainly going into the redistricting process is that the appetite of this board and the appetite of this community is to have community-based schools. Otherwise, we would have bulldozed Wrightstown and built a school up on the house track that handled all of our needs. But that's not what we wanted, and that's not what we chose, and that's not what I think is best today. A year ago, I would argue differently, but today I think differently. So I think acting with what we have in front of us, with Rolling Hills, we're doing the best we can with Wrightstown. We can't build any more in Wrightstown. If we need to put a couple more classrooms when we start digging into Soul Finestone, I don't know, but that's the best and most responsible way for this board to act. And I'm really, really excited that we're moving forward with this tonight.
Well, Robert, having lived through a school with no wiggle room for many years, Robert's arguments to me, even personally, struck a chord. Not that I needed a whole lot of push, but it was, we need that. Just a little bit of elbow room here and there. So I'm with you, Mark, completely.
I love what you said, Mark. I agree. I mean, it's the flexibility. I mean, we know what the problems are when we have schools with absolutely no space. And something that I said last week, I think is important to repeat, which is what we did in redistricting largely was an exercise of putting students where the rooms were. And this gives us an opportunity to put the rooms where the kids are. This is the densest part of our district. It is historically one we know will, because of the lower cost housing, will continue to bring students. We know that there are going to be kids there, and to ensure that there are seats in the school where the kids will be is an important thing to do for our future planning. So I think even though this facility strategic plan is not in place, I can already predict that this is in line with what we will think is sound planning and a sound approach to future facility use.
Any other comments? Now we'll move to a roll call vote.
Mark Violet,
Yes.
Mike Norwood,
Yes.
Denise Brooks,
Yes.
Marianne McKee,
Yes.
Jessica Hidalgo,
Yes.
Christine Marcel,
Yes.
Ed Solomon,
Yes.
Andy Black.
Yes. Motion passes 8-0. Congratulations, Doug. Let's do this on time and under budget.
Yes, sir.
Like all the other
As
ones.
always.
No pressure.
All right, Dr. Thorwart.
We've got a couple more. Yep, we've got a couple more. Yep. The next one is a little more mundane. It's moving services because we've got to move Wrightstown out of former Richboro Middle School and back to their home building at the end of this construction, and then move Rolling Hills Elementary into Richboro Middle School and get ready for construction over there. So I move to award bid number 18-72, moving services for the Wrightstown and Rolling Hills Elementary Schools to Simonik Transportation and Warehousing Group LLC at a total not to exceed fee of $53,078, subject to audit and solicitor's review.
Second.
Doug, are we on a tight dance for this again too?
Yes.
Okay.
We'll be good.
All right.
Any comments or questions? Anything you need to tell us, Mr. Taylor?
Simonik helped us move schools this past year. They're very good, and I have total confidence that we'll go just fine.
Great.
And this is a fraction of what happened last summer.
It is.
From a moving standpoint, right? Given the
This
middle
is-
level.
This is tiny in comparison.
Right, excellent. Any objections? Hearing none, I'd ask the secretary to note the motion passes with unanimous consent, and we will go to the last one.
I've got one more, yes. I move to approve capital improvement project bid number 1874 through 18-80, 18-82 to Johnson Controls CoStar's contract number 008-145, CRHS South and Maureen Welsh Elementary School, Access Security Corporation CoStar's contract number 008-430, IP Intercom Systems, and Garland/DBS Incorporated U.S. Communities proposal number 25-PA-190167. That's for the Chancellor Center roof replacement lobby connector roof, as contained in the attachment to this agenda, at a total not to exceed of $2,754,495, subject to audit and solicitor's review.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Marceau. Mr. Taylor, want to give a real brief overview?
These are the summer projects that are happening all over the district. A couple of the big projects there are that we're going to add secure entry vestibules to the 2 high schools that don't currently have those. We're going to put IP intercom camera intercom systems in all of the lobbies of the schools, the vestibules, before entering the office. There's a handful of other important projects, new stage curtains at the high schools, some playground repairs. Also, the elementary schools that don't have the intrusion hardware will be receiving those until they are renovated, so that the teachers have the ability to lock down those classrooms with a thumb turn or a push button, those that don't currently have those from renovations. And the good news is all of these projects were approximately the total $600,000 below the budget, which we can reallocate for summer projects next year.
Excellent. Any questions for Mr. Taylor? Any objections? Hearing none, I'd ask the secretary to note the motion passed with unanimous consent, and have a great summer, Mr. Taylor.
Thank you.
Mr. Block, if I could here real quickly, I just want to remind the public that a few months ago, we made a fairly significant change with our board agendas, in that all of this kind of information, in this case, bid documents, there's actually a total of 21 of them, are listed under public content. It used to be listed under administrative content, so the public wasn't able to see all of that information. So it was probably about 5 or 6 months or so ago that we made that switch. So just so you know, whether you see the committee meeting or don't see the committee meeting, you hear the motion, but you're wondering what the details are. The details are online and available to you to see, and we certainly hope that you're enjoying that. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Frazier, for reminding us. And I'd also just build on that statement. If the public would recall, I want to say we've been in this new system for 2 years now, where we decided to go to working sessions at our committees. And if you've noticed, these meetings have gone from 2 a month to 1 a month, and from 4 hours to hopefully an hour and a half or an hour. So we're moving through these with pace, but we're doing the diligence in the committee meeting. So if you want to see some of the detail around the discussion in the work sessions that leads to these outcomes, be sure to go see all of our committee meetings on CRSD YouTube channel. So with that, we will move to any new business out there.
I'd like to bring something up. So we, in that vein, when we're talking about committee meetings, we have a lot of new people on this board. And I'd like to see if we can shake things up a little bit. And what I mean by that is being committed to being here almost every Thursday night, if not every Thursday night, is a very, very difficult calendar to maintain as board members, and I'm sure for the administration or the folks involved in the committee meetings. So I'd like to just start the discussion about an idea. It doesn't have to be tonight, about moving our committee meetings to other nights. So I just talked about moving our finance committee meeting to Wednesday nights. I know it would work with some members of the administration. So I'd like to just, again, engage that discussion, because there are other things in the world that happen on Thursday nights other than school district business. That would be nice to attend every now and then, especially work-related events, family events, things like that. So I don't know if you want to talk about it now. I'm happy to have the discussion, or if you just want to have it at another time. Or not. No one?
I'm open to meeting on other nights, but I probably have far more flexibility than some of my colleagues here. So I'd be open to that.
I think it's worth the discussion. Maybe we plan it for a committee meeting. I think the challenge that we'll have, or that when we do, and I'm open to moving things around. I think the thing that's going to be important is consistency and flexibility. The one thing that's nice about Thursday nights is the entire district can stay away from Thursday nights because they know that we're meeting on board business here. Versus if we start jumping around, it might become a little bit more difficult, but that doesn't mean we can't have a discussion about how to do it. So I think it's probably one that would take a little bit longer. So we'll work to find some time, Dr. Frazier, to see if we can fit it into an open discussion at a board meeting would probably be most appropriate if we've got an open, do it as a discussion meeting up front.
Discussion item.
So.
And I don't think there's anything to preclude us from still being consistent just on another night of the week, because to Dr. Thorward's point, there's a lot of, or Mark, I think you said it, there's a lot of other stuff that happens in the district.
Yeah.
And a lot of that stuff happens on Thursday evenings. I mean, we try not to, but school plays and concerts, Thursday's just a good night for schools to run those kinds of events. So, maybe we just move to Wednesdays or move to Tuesdays.
Or different committees on different, I mean, it could be anything.
Yeah,
And
the
you could
options are there.
think about time as well.
Yeah, I'm not adverse to moving times.
I think what we should do is we should schedule a discussion. The other reason I think we should push it off is because I'd be really interested in you going back. This team is heavily involved in those discussions, and we have to be cognizant of their schedules and make it work for them. And that's where the time thing comes in. Anytime we can move a committee meeting closer to the school day to get them home earlier. So I'd be interested in you, kind of getting some feedback there so you can represent that. So we'll work to get that on the agenda sometime in the next few months. Try and get that for
Let
next
me
year.
ask this too, because, I probably have 4 meetings today, 2 of them in person and 2 of them over the website, right? WebEx. So I know these are public meetings and there's some requirements, but is there any opportunity for, I know we do conference calls, but WebEx type of calls, video type of calls?
I don't know, Mr. Bialik. I think that presents a Sunshine Act problem. I have to confess, I have not done a lot of research into whether a virtual meeting meets the requirements of the Sunshine Act. I suspect that you would have to demonstrate that it's truly a public meeting. There's a lot of folks in this community that probably don't have the ability to attend a virtual meeting. And I would think that would raise problems under the Sunshine Act. So I'm skeptical that it could be done, but I'm happy to look at it.
Well, just a thought. So, and I don't mean to monopolize this conversation, but if we had a committee meeting at, say, 5 p.m., this is, say, for example, on a Wednesday, and Matt was set up in the boardroom out there with a camera and a video monitor, and any board member that came, or member of the community that came, they had access to the meeting, but all the other board members from Northern California or wherever you happen to be at the time can get in. I don't know if I'm not asking you to give us an opinion tonight, but that's just maybe a way to make it effective. But maybe we're light years beyond that or behind that.
I think that it sounds like what you're suggesting is a meeting where essentially it is a public meeting in this building with members of the board or perhaps members of the administration attending virtually or remotely so that folks from the public could physically attend the meeting here. That might work better than a purely virtual meeting. But I'm happy to look at it.
Okay, so in terms of follow-ups, why don't we do this? Dr. Frazier, I'll ask you to get feedback from your team. I'll ask you to see what date works best to have the discussion in one of our regular board meeting agendas. And I'd also suggest, just to facilitate that discussion, that each board member individually submit any feedback or thoughts that you might have to me for consolidation, and we'll shoot that out. And then that way we'll have some kind of framework just for the basis, to create a basis for the discussion. All right.
I have a question. Mark, how is that different WebEx versus just calling in as we're doing now? Wouldn't it be basically the same except we're offering video like we're doing now? So we're basically turning our policy meetings into a video conference for people to see. It still could be posted on YouTube, I would think.
I'd say it's more interactive, certainly.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. WebEx is definitely more.
Yeah. I prefer a video conference than over a teleconference.
The technology that we could use to do this would support both call-in and video. So if you were attaching remotely, you could do it with video or without, through the phone or not through the phone, through the computer or not through the computer. That's the only way I think that we could make it accessible to anyone who wanted to attend and still have the public meeting.
How would you post it publicly?
There would be a link on the calendar for people to join.
We wouldn't need remote people video feed. I don't think you would require video feed for people who are remote, as long as we have it for the people in the room.
The remote video would be them to see what we're displaying in the room, not them.
Not for them.
So if you wanted to be in your pajamas, it'd be okay.
why don't we do this, Mr. Frederickson, while you're thinking about this, think about what options we might have for remote, so you can present those, so then we could have a debate about those. Okay, great. Any other comments on that topic? Is there any old business? I don't think there is, that anybody wants to.
I just have one more thing. So one thing we didn't
You
talk
were
about,
just talking about
Bill.
who was missing.
Listen, I'm feeling the vibe. I'm going to start telling anecdotal stories in a minute. So Bill, one of the things that we didn't talk was, I think Kevin, back to finance for a minute. I think Kevin Carpuck from Cornerstone came down and gave us a review of our quarterly investments. Can you give us a quick update on that? Yeah, are you ready? And I do know that Bill and Bob drove up to Bethlehem to meet with the folks who are helping manage our money and have done such a great job. So I just want to, give you some accolades for taking the time to do that.
It was our pleasure. We're performing very well. The decision to move to Cornerstone and have them assist us with investment of our funds is paying off. We are beating the benchmark average that we've set forth, and we're getting very close to reaching our budgeted revenue and interest earnings already for the year. So we are in very good position.
Are you sure?
Is there any public comment? We'll move to our second session. Okay, with no further comment, is there any closing board comment?
I'll just comment, and it'll be very quick. This change over to the committee meeting, doing a lot of the heavy lifting, has really made this fairly efficient. Your move to display all the documents online has made this much more sunshine friendly and public. So I just want to thank everybody. We were flexible with that. I'm hoping we'll be flexible with market time and dates, because it's 8:30 and we're finished. This is pretty nice to go through this way. So.
All right, everybody. Meeting adjourned. See you next month.
My seat's shaking for some reason.